Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad that you have joined us for today's Lunch and Learn. I know that our live audience is a little late today. I've had some people who had some meetings randomly show up. That's all part of leadership, right? The other thing too, here in the Pacific Northwest, it was supposed to be a cloudy day and it is turning into a very sunny afternoon. So I think people have decided to go outside and get some natural vitamin D. But I'm excited today. I'm excited about our topic today as we're talking about how to manage a distracted leader. I once was working with a client and she was telling me about what was going on at the time. She was a great worker. She loved her job. She'd been there for about a year and a half. She loved the work that she did. She felt like she was kind of finding her place, but she had some things that came up in life and in her personal life, and they became very distracting and very, very stressful for her. And so it affected her work to the point where she needed to take about a week off just to kind of get some things back in order. And when she came back to work, the atmosphere was very different. It seemed that her boss no longer trusted her, that they were checking in on her work all the time. She used words like micromanaging. And it was really unfortunate because it ultimately led to her leaving the company. She left a job that she loved and is now looking for kind of her next place again, and a little bit gun shy, frankly, on, is it okay to have problems? Is it okay if something comes up in my personal life? Because as we know, personal life does happen. A few years ago, I was working with a team and man, they were always on top of their game, but one of my key members started to miss deadlines and they seemed really disengaged. And it took a while to realize that the personal issues were affecting their performance. Once we recognized this and took steps to support them, the entire team came back together and it felt more cohesive again, actually felt more motivated because they were able to rally around this person who was going through some struggles, didn't know that they could share them, wasn't really sure what the place was for that because it's work, right? We spend so much time with, shoot. My new equipment just totally disengaged. Hold on one second. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fabulous. Thank you.
You got it.
Technology. With work, it's hard to know how much we can share and how much of our personal life we want to share because we spend so much time together. And there's joking about, oh, this is my work family because of all the time that we spend together. But there's still kind of that boundary because at the end of the day, this is a work relationship. There's a level of professionalism. And so the boundaries can get a little blurry sometimes. So today we're going to discuss strategies for leaders who are leading maybe a distracted team member and how to do that effectively. The goal is to learn how to address distractions in a way that's direct and yet supportive, ensuring that we maintain a positive team environment. So first, let's talk about why team members might become distracted. First of all, there's personal issues. Personal issues are a significant source of distraction. They can include health problems. Maybe there's physical health issues. Maybe there's mental health issues. They create and greatly affect concentration and productivity. Chronic pain, illness, mental health conditions like anxiety or depression, those can make it difficult sometimes for individuals to stay focused. Family concerns, problems at home, maybe there's a marital issue, maybe there's some relationship dynamics going on there, or caregiving responsibilities for kids or for elderly parents, or maybe there's financial stress. Those can preoccupy a team member's mind and it pulls their attention away from work. Imagine a team member who's caring for an ill family member. Their concern and their need to be available, that can lead to frequent interruptions, reduced focus, and increased stress levels. Sometimes there's overwhelming workloads. This is another common cause of distraction, having an overwhelming workload. And this can manifest in a few different ways. I'm sure that you've all heard somebody say, man, I'm so burned out. When employees are consistently overloaded with tasks, they may start to feel burned out, which leads them to decrease productivity and engagement. If somebody's feeling burned out, they come to work, they don't have the energy, they don't have the focus, they are distracted and just they're in survival mode. Like, how am I going to make it through the day? How am I going to make it through this big pile? And if the pile keeps growing day after day, it just becomes overwhelming. Maybe there's a lack of prioritization. Without clear priorities, team members might struggle to manage their time effectively, which leads to like this scattergun approach where they switch between tasks and they're really not making significant progress on any one thing. So rather than saying, okay, right now I'm working on this task, and then I'm going to move on to this thing on my list, and then I'm going to move on to this thing on my list. It's whatever email comes in, whatever immediately pops up and is in their face, they keep switching and switching. That takes a lot of brain energy to do that. And it keeps somebody from ever being fully focused because they're always worried about what's going to be coming up next. And sometimes the work environment itself can be a major source of distraction. There might be excessive noise. A noisy office can make it really hard to concentrate. Open planned offices, while they are great at promoting collaboration, they can sometimes hinder focus due to constant background noises, interruptions. If some personalities, they get very distracted by conversations. I know that it's definitely not something that I think is a strength. I have to actually work on it quite a lot. If I'm involved in a conversation and somebody else, I hear a keyword or I hear somebody say something, it kind of like perks my ear. Well, if I've got one ear here and one ear here, I'm not fully focused, and it's distracting, and it's energy sucking. Sometimes there's inadequate resources, a lack of necessary tools, especially training or resources on how to do things, that can cause frustration and hinder a team member's ability to complete their work efficiently. So it includes, maybe there's some outdated technology, or maybe there's not enough workspace. Have you ever had like so much stuff on your desk? Like, probably if you could see my desk right now, it feels a little bit like that, where I've got stuff all over the place, which is why I hit the microphone. But a lack of access to important information. Have you ever been working on a project, you're trying to get something done, and there's that one missing piece, and you're looking around and you're like, oh, who can help me with this? And maybe they're not around. That can lead to distraction. So let's talk about then how to recognize the signs. This may seem like a no-brainer. It may seem like this is something that people automatically know, but let's make sure that we can recognize the signs of distractions early, because recognizing when a team member is distracted is crucial for timely intervention. If we let things go, if we chalk it up to something other than a team member that's distracted and is becoming disengaged, it might get too far down the journey to be able to really pull it back, or that it's going to take way more effort to bring things back into play and to get that team member back to being engaged. So here's some things to look out for. Frequent mistakes. Do you have a team member that has increased errors or the oversight in their work? That might indicate that they're not fully focused on their work. Maybe you're seeing a decline in the quality of work, a noticeable drop in the quality. Maybe they're sending out letters or emails that have grammar mistakes where you're like, what's that about? Or there's a lack of clarity in the message that's being sent out, and you're like, man, what's going on? They used to be so good at that, and now it seems like they're just like rushing through the tasks. I wonder if something's going on. Another thing that we see, another sign, is a withdrawal from team activities. If a normally engaged team member starts withdrawing from team interactions or meetings, it may be a sign that they're struggling. These indicators help us as leaders identify when we need to step in. So creating a supportive environment is essential for addressing distractions and helping team members stay focused, helping them stay engaged. So here's 3 components. And, as I was typing this up and as I was working on this, there's a lot of overlap in the things that we talk about as leaders. There's a lot of tools that a leader has that are significant and useful for all sorts of different circumstances that we come across. Things like trust and empathy and open communication. But we're going to talk about them again today, because when we have those things in place, when we're able to pull out those tools and be able to help us be great leaders, then that helps make sure that our team is staying engaged. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to have team members who are committed to the work that they're doing, that they're engaged, but that we're offering them the support and setting them up to best be in that situation. So there's 3 components to creating a supportive environment for when you notice that you might have a disengaged team member. The first one is, of course, open communication. Create a supportive environment, and this starts with open communication. It means fostering a culture where team members feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and their concerns. That means that a couple of different things. You want to have a safe space. You want to create a place where somebody feels safe sharing. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a situation outside of work, and I had an event that had happened over the weekend. It was really traumatic, and I knew that coming to work would be good for me because it would just be kind of like it was something that I was used to. It was going to be something that would just kind of help me settle a little bit, just the routine of it and being there, the normalcy of it. And so I got to work, but I was so distracted and I was not going to be at my best. And my boss came to me and she was like, "You seem a little off. Are you okay?" And at that moment, I had a choice to make as to how much I was going to divulge to her and let her know what had been going on and why I wasn't operating at my best. We had a relationship, and she had created an environment that it was safe for me to have that conversation with her and share with her. I appreciated the support that she gave. I appreciated the listening ear that she gave. She didn't try to fix anything. She listened. And then she asked, she said, "What do you need? What do you need to do? Do you need to go home? Because if you're going to be better going back home, that's fine too. You can take the day off. Or is it better for you to be here? Like, how can I set you up for success?" And that open communication, the ability to be able to talk to her about what was going on, really made the difference. And it helped me kind of reset even more. So here's a couple of tips on how to implement some open communication. First of all, have regular team meetings. Every company and every organization has a different rhythm for this. A lot of people in the senior care industry, they have daily meetings where every day they have like a stand up, or at the end of the day, they might have a handoff. And so these regular team meetings, though, they're really important because it's a consistency that your team can count on. They know that there's going to be an opportunity where they can come together and everyone's going to be able to discuss ongoing projects. They're going to share updates. They're going to be able to voice any concerns. And there should be some structure in there to allow for some open dialogue. Like this: begin each meeting with a roundtable update where each team member can share their current tasks and any obstacles they're facing. Now, this not only keeps everyone informed, but it also actually fosters a shared sense of responsibility. When I'm sharing what I'm working on, when I'm sharing what some of the obstacles are, a couple things happen with that in that communication space is somebody might have an idea that they want to give me, but also because I'm saying that I'm working on something, then that gives the people around me the right to come in and say, hey, how's that project going? How's this task going? Or maybe it's, hey, I've got some extra time. Can I jump in and help you? But making sure that you have a time where people can safely speak to what's going on in their world, and what their plan is. So on top of those regular team meetings, you want to have one-on-one check-ins. It may feel like you have to kind of schedule these to begin with and starting out, but over time, these should become more and more organic. Regular one-on-one meetings should be held with every team member. These sessions are crucial for understanding individual challenges and then providing personalized support. Even though back in that team meeting that you had, you heard from every person and there was that individualized space for people to speak, still was a big group, and you weren't going to be like addressing every issue personally in that particular venue. But the one-on-one meeting, that gives you a chance to meet with them one-on-one, face-to-face, no interruptions, no distractions, but simply being able to listen and hear what's going on with them, what are their challenges, maybe using some coaching questions on asking them what some of the obstacles are and how they might be able to overcome them. One of my favorite questions to ask when I'm meeting with somebody who seems a little stuck is I would say, so if I were your best friend and I came to you and I told you this was my situation, what advice would you give me? And it really seems to help people kind of get outside of their own head and be able to come up with some solutions. Use these check-ins to discuss not just work-related issues, but also ask about their overall well-being. Again, you're in a one-on-one meeting. You're not asking them to divulge things to a big, large group, but you're saying, I care about you enough as a person. I recognize that who you are is a human being first. You have a life outside of this office and outside of this workplace, and I care about you. Simple questions like, how are you managing your workload? Or even, is there anything outside of work that might be affecting your focus? Those can make a really big difference. Again, it's open-ended enough and it's a broad enough question to where somebody can make the decision on how much information they want to divulge. You know, not everybody comes from a great workplace culture or from previous jobs. And if they're coming into your organization, they might need some time. They might need some time to build that trust and to know that they can actually open up. So making sure in your one-on-one check-ins that you are checking in on them as a person, but making it to a point where they get to control how much information that they're providing to you. Trust and empathy. Building trust and showing empathy are vital components of a supportive environment. This involves seeing team members as a whole person. I know we've talked about that already in this presentation, that everybody who comes to work, everybody that we work with is a person. They're a person inside of this place and they're a person outside. They have a whole life that we might not even know about. Another thing I've noticed too, when we talk about understanding people as whole people, is recognizing that they might be in a particular role in our company, but when we spend some time with them one-on-one, when we learn a little bit more about them, there might be opportunities we get to learn about how we're going to develop them, how we're going to help them grow within the organization. And so making sure that those conversations are happening as well. Take the time to understand each team member as a whole person, not only their likes and their dislikes, but what is their unique situation? What do they uniquely bring to the company? And what do they have going on outside? What are some of those challenges? When we know this about them, when we as leaders know this about people, it helps in offering the right kind of support. Showing empathy. Demonstrate genuine concern for their well-being. Empathy can be shown through active listening and validating their feelings. And let me tell you, validating feelings is not saying, oh, I understand how you feel, and then going into a story about a situation that happened to you. Validating their feelings is using statements like, wow, I could understand how you feel that way. Or, wow, that's really interesting. I've not been in that situation. I can only imagine how you feel. So when a team member, here's an example of that. When a team member shares a concern, listen actively without interrupting and respond with understanding comments like, that sounds really tough. How can I help? Again, saying how can I help doesn't mean that you're there to fix it. It doesn't mean that you're forcing yourself into this situation. Because when that happens, there's a lot of people that don't like that, and they will just shut down. They'll be like, nope, not going to talk to you anymore. I can't share this with you. I'm going to hold it inside myself, because if I do, you're just going to try and fix me. And all I really need right now is for somebody to listen. Sometimes, though, we need to offer some flexible work conditions. Again, we talked about that sometimes these distractions that create people to be disengaged can actually come from within the work environment itself. So offering flexible work conditions, they can significantly reduce stress and help team members focus better. If it allows for it, maybe there's options for things like flexible hours, allowing team members to adjust their hours, their work hours, to better fit their personal lives. Is there, do you have somebody on your team who's constantly coming in late and is watching the clock and trying to, towards the end of their shifts, trying to hurry up and get stuff done so that they can run out the door as soon as their shift is over? Maybe there's something going on. Maybe they've got a daycare issue, or maybe they've got something at home that is time sensitive, and they're trying to address it. Is it possible that you can create some flexibility within their shift so that then they're able to not come in being distracted and disengaged and thinking about how they're going to be able to juggle all of this and make it happen? Sometimes there's conflicts. If you're stuck in a traditional 9-to-5 schedule, but there's only opportunities, like maybe somebody needs to go to the doctor and they're only available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Oh, guess what? That's the same time I work. What am I going to do? So maybe you can allow some compressed work weeks or a flexible start and end time policy, where can employees maybe work longer days on some days to have an additional day off or a half day. I had a friend of mine. She's still my friend, but they would work Monday through Thursday, and they would work 9 hours. And then on Friday, they would only work until noon. And that offered the flexibility, that gave her the knowledge that she knew every Friday she'd be able to catch up on stuff that maybe she wasn't able to do. And it was a sacrifice she was willing to make in the earlier week, just so that she knew that was coming up. Again, if some of the distractions at work are leading your team members to be disengaged, an option you might have is a remote work option. Can they do some of their work from home, which reduces the stress of commuting, and it allows employees to work in an environment where they feel most productive? I know this is a huge source of contention in a lot of companies right now. There's some that are absolutely mandating that people come back to the office. There's some companies that are wanting to adopt a hybrid situation. Every company has to discover this for themselves on what's going to work best. There's some industries that remote just flat out doesn't work. You have to be on site. But maybe you can offer some remote work days or a hybrid model where team members can choose a few days a week to work from home. So when you have that disengaged employee and you recognize that it's time to do something about it because it's having an impact, and let me just tell you, the rest of the team, they see it and they know it, and they're waiting for you as a leader to step in and to do something about it. They're wanting to see how you handle it for their own lives, but also because most often than not, when you have a disengaged employee, other people in the team are having to pick up the slack. And so they're waiting for you. And so when you are able to come in and take those steps and start taking some proactive approaches to working with that disengaged employee, one of the things that you want to do is you want to have direct and positive communication. Be prepared, because you want to make sure that usually when somebody's disengaged, most of the time there's going to be some emotion involved in that. And you want to make sure that you have facts and examples, that you're not making the person feel like you're attacking them, but that you're actually addressing the issue. So gather facts to understand the situation fully. Reflect on their recent performance to have concrete points to discuss. Make sure the discussion is always in private. Make sure you do that because, for one, it's nobody else's business. And it ensures that there's going to be a non-threatening environment. And you're showing them respect when you're doing it in private. Listen actively. When discussing the issue, make sure that you practice active listening. Show genuine interest in understanding their concerns. Maintain eye contact, nod, reflect on what they're saying. And then implement some collaborative problem solving. Work together to find solutions. This could involve a lot of the things that we've talked about: adjusting their workload, offering additional resources, or suggesting professional support like counseling. But at the end of the conversation, you have to set clear expectations. Ensure that you set clear, achievable expectations. Define what the specific goals and create a timeline for improvement. This provides a clear path forward, and it sets the standard for performance. And then have some regular check-ins. Follow up regularly to monitor progress and provide ongoing support. You're going to know what the appropriate check-in intervals are. You might even close the meeting with that kind of a conversation, like, hey, I want to check in on how things are going. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to pester you. I don't want to overwhelm you. When would be a good time for us to check in next? And maybe how frequently would you like us to check in? It also gives that team member a bit of a sense of control that helps them feel like they are contributing to the solution, and being able to set some of those boundaries as well. So to recap, we've discussed understanding the causes and impacts of distractions that create disengaged employees. We've talked about creating a supportive environment, communicating directly and positively producing support and solutions, and maintaining follow-up and accountability. When we address distraction proactively and supportively, we're not just helping one team member. We're enhancing the entire team's functionality and morale. So make sure that you are, I totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Let's break down how the these strategies benefit the team. Individual and performance improvement. When one person is improving, it impacts the entire team. And you have enhanced team dynamics where people are recognizing that they can come and they can be a real person with real life issues, and that they're going to be working in a positive work environment where they're supported and where there's solutions. But there's also trust and accountability that says, we still expect you to get your work done. This isn't a free hall pass to not be engaged to the point where work's not getting done. You still have to do your job. And that's where that trust and accountability comes into play. Any questions, any further discussion? I'd love to hear maybe what something that you have experienced and how you've dealt with a disengaged employee in our last couple of minutes here. Again, I know that we don't have a huge audience today, and so I'm so grateful for those of you who could join us today. I hope that you know that you can get a hold of me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also go to linkconsulting.info. And when you go there, you'll have the opportunity to download my free ebook, Confident Leadership, How to Be a Confident Leader of a Committed Team Providing Stellar Service. And if you missed today's live event, you can always pick up the recording on YouTube. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, have a great week. Take care,
Thank you,
everybody.
Jill. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.